Star Trek, the ultimate franchise. These are the voyages of 3 veteran Trekkies, Rich, Ian, and Toby. Their ongoing mission? To explore the vast Star Trek universe, to seek out new perspectives and fresh debates, to boldly go where no podcast has gone before. Beyond the Final Frontier.
Hello and welcome to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with me, your host, Rich Matthews, and my fellow Voyagers, Mr. Ian Spelling.
Hey there, everybody.
And Mr. Toby Weidman.
Hello.
This week's theme is our favourite villains from the series of Star Trek. So that's any villain that's appeared on TV versions of Star Trek, so none of the movies ones, although, of course, some recur in movies, but they qualify. But anyone that's just been in the movies doesn't count. So no Kruge, no Cybok, yeah. Any of that. Those guys are all missed out. To kick off, as ever, and as much as I try not to make this the Deep Space Nine show again, seems to be a fallback for many of us. But my number 7 is friend of the pod, Jeffrey Combs, is Weyoun from Deep Space Nine. The Vorta diplomat / consigliere, is that how you say it? Consigliere of the Dominion, a clone who's killed repeatedly and reborn, and is just unctuous and sycophantic and creepy, makes his skin crawl, and is just casually genocidal, lives and breathes his role as the mediator for the Dominion. And Combs is great in everything, but that part is a perfect marriage of actor and writing, and he's just, I can't imagine anyone else doing it as well. And others tried with Vorta, didn't they? But they were never quite as good. And of course, highlights are his introduction into the Death, then the diplomatic villain visit he does with the chilling version of things on the set of Ties and Blood and Water, the defecting Weyoun 6 in Treachery, Faith and the Great River, and of course, his final fate in What You Leave Behind. And it's amazing layers of subtlety and complexity within a character whose motivations remain pretty, other than Weyoun 6, pretty straight and clear, but still there's just layers to it. And his scenes in the Dominion arc, in the sort of ops with the founder of the Breen, Golda Cat or Damar, it's just he's the glue for all of that, and no, it would work as well without him. So there you go. Weyoun is my number 7.
He's like the slimy, facilitating PA for like the Hollywood changeling, who just do anything they can to please their master.
I think it's also fair to say, isn't it, that the Vorta, their function wasn't quite as clear as the Jem'Hadar until Jeff. And then his representation totally clarified that function. So other actors
they're middle management, essentially, aren't they?
Yeah. So it's...
Well, they're the worker bees is really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
The dark, evil worker bees, but yes, the worker bees.
Yeah, and a great makeup job, too.
Yeah.
Great design.
Unbelievable makeup on that one.
Yeah.
Looked, they tried to humanize a lot of the aliens, and I always felt that Weyoun was not the most human-looking or humanoid-looking. Even
though you can see most of his face, and Fetty or their face, but I completely agree. There's something very, very alien about that design.
Exactly, agree.
But Jeff talked about it. The eyes, the really piercing eyes, it instantly draws you in.
Yeah, no doubt.
You kind of transfixed by him.
Yeah. So he was always going to be on my list, and he's at number 7. So Ian, your number 7
is a surprise to me because I hated this character in a different way from hating the character. You know what I mean? There's a character you love to hate.
You hated, yeah.
Yeah, I hated Seska. I never thought the character worked. But looking at the time, let me rephrase that, at the time. But upon rewatching the show over the years, upon talking to the writers and directors and to Martha Hackett over the years, upon talking to fans, upon talking to you guys, editing pieces that I might have done on her, I realized I always thought that Martha Hackett was great in the role.
Yeah.
But I never thought the character, like I said, worked. It just was weird to me. But sure enough, I mean, she's a very effective character. When she says you should have stayed with the Maquis, it's just a great, great, nasty little line. And, it's when she aligns with the Kazon. I mean, that really shows you her true colors, right? I thought that was important stuff. So, and then, kind of like the Borg Queen, they made this kind of creepy looking alien seductive. And that really worked. I always loved the chemistry between her and all of the characters, but obviously specifically, Robert Beltran, I thought was really good stuff. And we got enough character development with her over time that we came to see a little bit more about that character. And in real time, back in the day, I do remember saying, oh, okay, they've given us more of her. And now I dislike this character for the right reasons now. But initially I didn't. But initially I did not care for the character. Forget about the performance for a second. I just didn't think the character worked within the context. Maybe because she's so close to human that she felt truly villainous. And I just found her very memorable. Let's put it that way. For the wrong reasons initially, the right reasons later. Sorry, Tobes.
I rewatched Basics very recently.
Parts 1 and 2, I hope.
Yes, absolutely. But not for the reason that you're thinking.
You got paid?
She's very sympathetic in that episode because she learns that Chakotay isn't the father of her child. I think she fully believed that. And then she gets betrayed at the end of that as well and killed by the Kazon, who clearly just, in their sexist way, and they don't really respect women. He just, we were only using you to kind of get back at Voyager and manipulate Chakotay, and if that relationship is no longer there, then we don't need you. I'm just going to raise this kid as my own, this baby as my own, and then, the last thing she sees is she's crawling towards her baby. It's actually quite a sad end to her as a character.
Agreed.
I also thought it was a nice little window into what could have been if they hadn't ironed out the Maquis storyline so quickly. I know she's not true Maquis, but it was that slight the thing they did nicely with her was there was always a bit of friction when she was still pretending to, and it turned out to be a bit deterministic, that friction, whereas we were all agreed that was the thing they threw away too soon. So it's like it could have worked. And the way that everything you've just described in the way your reevaluation, I think, would have reflected better on the show in general if they'd done that with more people.
And ladies and gentlemen, we already have the word of the day: deterministic. Wow, Rich, good shit, man.
Oh my God.
For my list, just to keep it varied, I decided to only select one villain from a series, because otherwise my list would probably be all DS9. So I decided to kind of switch it up a little bit. I've done this before. I'm interested.
So creative.
I think that in my seventh spot is the original series. And I think the obvious choice is Khan. You could possibly go with Trelane or Gary Mitchell. I think those are high up there. There's some Klingons that could be put in there. But I decided to go with someone a little bit different, actually. And I'm interested to see if you can guess who it is. It's a serial killing femme fatale with daddy issues. Any guesses?
The Turnabout Intruder one?
Nope.
Toy just putting her in just for fun.
The actress was Barbara Anderson, if that helps. Very beautiful blonde woman.
It's not going to come to me off the top of my head. Good one.
So it's from The Conscience of the King, season 1, and it's Lenore Caridian.
Yes.
So she's the daughter of a mass murderer. So there's some legacy to her psychopathy. I just think she's a really interesting...
Word of the day, part 2. Sorry, go ahead.
She's just an interesting bad guy, because on the surface she's this sweet, beautiful young woman, played by an Emmy award-winning actress. She won an Emmy for her role in Ironside. And your initial impression is, she would never commit murder. She couldn't possibly. And it's that don't judge a book by its cover. And it's just a really interesting character. But what I found rewatching this episode, what was really interesting to me was how Kirk is portrayed, because he's actually quite a cold and heartless bastard.
Wow, we're throwing it all out there tonight.
I mean, he's definitely more than a little sociopathic. He's manipulative and calculating. He uses Lenore to get close to her father, basically, because he suspects him of being Kodos the Executioner. And he charms his way into her affections, but doesn't. I don't really care what he says. He sort of infers that at the beginning it wasn't like that, but I just don't believe it. And he's really uncooperative. Like he won't tell the rest of his crew what he's doing. It's up to Spock who sort of figures it out. It's just a really interesting look at Kirk and his character. So, although I've picked Lenore as actually, I'm just as interested. She's the psychopath. She's the one going around killing people. But Kirk is, he's as sociopathic almost as she is.
Toby, that's a really, really great choice.
Yeah.
And while you were talking, I just looked her up. She's still alive. She's only 80 years old. So she was like 20 when she did this episode.
Wow. So even better. It's a young actor. Oh, cool. Good work.
There's a captivating performance. It's worth going back and watching it again if people haven't seen it.
No, I remember liking her.
I think I've seen that one once, which is why. So yes, for sure. So my number 6 is also a single episode villain, and it's Admiral Eric Pressman from the Pegasus, season 7 of The Next Generation, played by the just hissable Terry O'Quinn. Pre-Lost, of course. Post The Stepfather, if anyone saw that, his breakout role.
Of course.
Before he was an oddly ambiguous figure living on a beach. I love this episode because it's a lovely exploration of loyalty, and also before we had Section 31 and all the deep layering of DS9, a little bit more of a dark side of Black Ops with the Federation and experiments with cloaks and phasing technology and all this sort of thing that shouldn't have been going on, and Riker maintaining for his captain had lied for him. But also, crucially, the thing that I think that he as a character and as an actor do so well is showing how Riker's changed, and the role that Picard's captaincy has played on Riker in terms of what it truly means, what authority and loyalty really mean, as opposed to blind loyalty when he was young. And he's just got cold steel, Terry O'Quinn, in this role. And when you talk about villains you love to hate, every time I watch this episode, I'm like, oh God, I want to punch him so bad.
You love a badmiral though, don't you?
Like, this is the best badmiral. Of all the badmirals, he's my top badmiral. He's the baddest of the badmirals. The badmiralist of all of them. It's because he's really good actor and is so good at that. Even though he was typecast for a long time, and it was good when he got more variety. But yeah, it's a fantastic episode. Love it.
So we're at my number 6, which would be Weyoun. Again, part of our fun with doing this is discovering where these things land. It means there are that many good villains. That Weyoun, who is one of my favorites, is this high up. I mean, I guess after 60 years, we should have more than, we should have plenty of villains. But Weyoun is great. The episode that I rechecked was Treachery, Faith, and the Great River. I thought was pivotal, classic Weyoun. He's had memorable lines, too many to count. That was oddly satisfying. Great line. But I particularly love his moments with Demar. I thought those two guys together were great as characters and the actors. Hopefully...
well, their contempt for each other is fantastic.
Yeah, they hate each other. Total lack of respect, total disdain, total one-upsmanship in, every confrontation and conversation that they have. And to those 2 points, every conversation more or less turns into a confrontation.
Passive-aggressive city that just ends up being aggressive. It's really, really... Casey Biggs is Tamara, isn't he?
And they're both masters of playing that. And Rich, when you go to Vegas in August this year, hopefully you'll see the two of them together. That chemistry really does carry over to them in real life. It's very fun to watch.
So a case of the writers writing to something that was evident.
I think they gave them a scene or two and then saw how well they played off each other and then just built on that relationship.
That's
much like Armin and Renee.
Yeah.
With Quark and Odo. I think you find something and you build on it. The beauty of this was these were supporting characters, guest stars, recurring. And, they came in and killed it every time. And speaking of killing, the Weyoun 7 was just fabulous. So, and you guys both touched on Weyoun already, so I'll stop there. But as we all know, we are big fans of Jeff Combs. I think the Weyoun characters were arguably his best, and I think he brought a real sense of menace to the show, to the franchise, and in Jeff's case, to the performance. It was sly. That performance, you could almost see him like winking at the camera, but not.
Because you want to like him and you hate yourself for wanting to like him.
Right. So that's mine, number 6.
Yeah, Weyoun would have been in my list if I hadn't put my self-imposed rules on myself. I did actually even consider putting in Animus from Lower Decks in, the character that Jeff voices, the evil computer.
Yeah.
Or AI, maybe. But yeah, there's just my choice, my selection for Deep Space Nine was sort of non-negotiable in terms of villain. So unfortunately, Jeff misses out. But that does bring me on to my 6th spot with a character who's played by one of my other favorite character actors. And this is why I rewatched Basics. But before I watched Basics, I watched Meld. And it's the character of Lon Suder, played by the awesome Brad Dourif, who people will obviously know from Lord of the Rings and
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Dune.
I mean, I'm gonna give a shout out to a little known film called Grim Prairie Tales from the 1990.
Yes, the campfire scenes.
Absolutely fantastic film with James Earl Jones.
Yep.
Wow.
Love that film.
Well, he recently popped up on The Pit because his daughter's in it.
Let's go back to Lon Suder. Is he a villain? Yes and no. He's a psychopath who commits murder, and he commits murder on Voyager. He also tries to initially hide it, but I would say that he's definitely not portrayed that way. I think he's quite a sympathetic character in that he doesn't understand where that urge to kill comes from, and by the way that he responds to Tuvok mind melding with him in the first place, but then also trying to control that later in Basics. We see that in Basics. He doesn't really want to do it. He just feels the urge and he can't stop it. And it's a very interesting episode, Meld. Again, it's another one I would recommend going back to watch if you haven't seen it for a while. And Dourif is I mean, he's always awesome, but he's really good in this. And he does this thing with his eyes where his eyes are never still. They're always sort of twitching backwards and forwards. And because he's a Beta Z, he also has sort of very black, dark pupils. And it's very unnerving. It's interesting, actually. I think from what my research, I discovered that it was actually Tim Russ who suggested that the character should be a Beta Z rather than a human, because he just thought it would be much more interesting that way, particularly as they are normally empathetic, right? And so you would think that they would understand what they're doing is bad and be able to control it. But
there was an abusive Betazoid on TNG. It wasn't it the guy who was in Police Academy 7, Matt McCoy, didn't he? Devanadi Ral? Is that right?
Yeah, I think you are right. Yeah. But with Meld, he's not really the central part of the story. The story is about incarceration and corporal punishment and the need or not need for a death sentence. Yeah. So from that point of view, it's very interesting. It also leaves it very open-ended. But the reason why I question whether he is a black and white villain, I would say, maybe not. Certainly because he is given redemption in basics. He is the hero of the day. He saves Voyager with help, but he is the one who makes Tom Paris's attack on Voyager to stop the Kazon from flying off with it and goes back to rescue the rest of the crew. It is his sacrifice. So he is given a kind of a good ending, but he does have to lean into his murderous side again, having controlled it as well, which makes it all the more devastating.
I ever since I saw Exorcist 3, it's very hard not to be scared by Brad Dourif, even when he's playing somebody nice.
Well, they did this really interesting thing. Like both Torres and Chakotay, this is in Meld, they both express how they feel uncomfortable around him, even though he's never done anything to, like he's just was very good at killing Cardassians when he was in the Marquis. He's part of the Marquis crew. But they both say that they can't really explain why he makes them uncomfortable, and Dourif plays it
good
just
casting.
Really, really interesting. Yeah, it's really, really fab. There we go.
Excellent choice. Unexpected.
That's what happens when you limit the number that you can have from a series.
So I'm not limited because my number 5 is another Next Generation baddie, and is my first Cardassian, Gul Madred, David Warner.
Of course, yeah.
From Chain of Command. So David Warner is a story Trek performer, isn't he? But mostly not baddies. Not really. I mean, his Star Trek 5 diplomat is just ineffectual and, brainwashed. And then, of course, Gorkon is the Gorbachev of Undiscovered Country. So is a beacon of hope for the Klingons. But in Chain of Command, no. Horrible. You want to talk about psychopath? Woo! Cold-blooded, awful, reptilian, chilling, manipulative, just sadistic. Oh, and so as two-parters go,
I don't think it's a compulsion for him. It's just his job. He doesn't care about it.
I don't agree with that because of what he says to his daughter. The way he talks about Picard and humans to his daughter is not, if it was just his job, that wouldn't be necessary. Essentially devaluing of life, not simply to his daughter, and a lesson that didn't need to be had if it was just work a day.
My number 5 is the Borg Queen. How great was the Borg Queen? And interesting, almost didn't matter who played the Borg Queen, but all of our Borg Queens were very, very good. But we got to go with our TV ones, right? I thought both ladies did a great job. And then enter another one near the end, right, on Picard. So, and may she rest in peace. So I just thought, great character. And given the fact that obviously the third one is different from the ones we saw from the movie and Voyager, just a great character. And they used her really well in Dark Frontier and Unimatrix Zero and Endgame, of course. She made everything personal, which was what was interesting for her as a character. And we have so many men as the villain in Star Trek that I thought this was an important one, that she was female. Yes, she's kind of a seductress, but that's not the driving force. More or less, it's her way of getting at Data when we first met her. But especially in the TV shows, there was a difference. And I also love the females going head-to-head on Voyager. I thought that made our hero and our villain clash is really exciting as well. And I love Susanna Thompson as an actress before.
She's in that brilliant episode with Dax.
Yes, Rejoined. It was always fascinating to me that really nice people could play really mean characters. And I always...
And a shout out to Annie Wershing as well.
Well, I only really didn't leave Annie in here because it's a different Borg Queen that she's playing.
Yeah, no, it is. That's true. That's a good loophole.
But she also had it out for 7 of 9 for obvious reasons. Here's the one that got away, is what it really boils down to. And I just thought their dynamic was really good and brought out the mama bear in Janeway. Yeah. So
I think that Kruge worked better for me as the slightly broader movie version, but I really liked what Susanna Thompson did. It was a little bit more intimate, especially because she did a lot more work with Mulgrew, didn't she? And that sort of that really worked. And I think, and it was nice for Kruge to come back, of course, because it was, but I really thought Susanna Thompson in the longer form use of the character was better.
It's so weird. In my fifth spot, I have another character who is wearing a very tight black skin suit, and it's Captain Angel from Strange New Worlds, played by Jesse James Keitel. I've mentioned this episode before, and also this character. I think she's the closest to a mustachio twirling villain in that she's a little bit over the top, but I think in a good way. It sort of suits the show. And I think her motivations, unlike a lot of the New Trek villains, I think she's actually got a reason for doing what she's doing. She's sassy, she's smart, she's lithe, manipulative, a total badass who outwits the Enterprise crew at almost every turn until the end.
I think we need to ask that of every villain. But are they lithe?
Right.
I really hope they revisit this character in whatever's left of Strange New Worlds. They probably won't.
Well, they shot it, so we can find out.
Yeah, I guess that Cyborg storyline was just a little tease, and then it's probably never going to come back. But I really, really liked this character. I really enjoyed her portrayal of it, and I would like to see more. So, again, having to pick from various different shows, this is the one that stands out for me from Strange New Worlds.
Excellent.
One thing that I did think, because this is one of the episodes that I rewatched, is she would make a great Cardassian.
Yes, easily.
She's got the neck for it, and sort of the facial features just would make a fantastic Cardassian. But anyway,
Agreed.
on to number 4.
Yes, and staying in lane, to use your metaphor, Ian. I'll say between the white lines. My number 4 is my TOS, which...
Khan.
Yeah.
My number 4 as well.
There you go. So, in which case, I will say Khan, mic drop, and hand over to Ian, because...
But you should say, Khan!
I was toying with it, but, it's already an obvious choice. I thought maybe,
But the obvious choice really would have been to have him higher. And I'm glad that we both have him at number 4. You immediately think villains in Star Trek, and really the first one that does come to mind most of the time.
That's because of the movie.
Right. That's the whole...
It's not spacey.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I almost took him off my list because he's a good villain.
Me too.
He's a really good villain. But rewatching Space Heat for this, I was like, you know what? All right, this does stand alone as a villain performance. But no pun intended, it does lay the seeds for what we see, obviously, in Wrath of Khan. The guy's ego fills the room. Montalban fills the room. He is a human turned something more, and he sees other humans as lesser than. And I love that. I love that. It's just such a pompous man and such a well-calibrated performance. And then just that chilling line, I shall leave you as you left me, is great stuff. The Marla McGivens material was always a little weird to me. Did he love her? Was he using her? Was she just there?
Oh, I should have taken photos of my teenage daughters watching that episode. It does not play.
Yeah, well, it's very 1960s, no question.
Did you say women are very different in the 1960s?
Yeah.
Or the portrayal of women?
Because you don't really get that in Khan, and everything he says in Wrath of Khan, of course, answers that question. But it ain't in the episode.
No, it's not.
That he loves her.
But he did establish the template for the supervillain, the literally superpowered, our own X-Men, basically, in Star Trek. And I thought that was very cool as well. So there's a little bit there. He's higher up on my list, or included on my list, more than I thought he would be, just because of all of those elements leading to Star Trek 2. But in rewatching it, he actually does deserve to be there. So I'm comfortable with having Khan at 4.
There's a reason he ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't...
Let's also remember the fact that when they started with Star Trek 2, they're like, well, was there a good villain from Star Trek that we could pull? So if right. So obviously somebody in 1980, 81 said, oh, wait, let's go back and look 15 years back at this performance. The fact that Montalban looked even better and bigger 15 years later is just a total testament to the man himself.
My 4th spot, I've also taken a Star Trek movie villain and their TV performance in that I've picked Peter Weller and John Paxton from Enterprise's Demons and Terror Prime, season 4.
Toby, you just invoked into darkness.
Yeah, but it's hard to ignore an actor like Peter Weller. I mean, he brings so much to the role. We don't need to really go into too much. I think we have spoken about this character before. He is essentially a leader of a xenophobic radical group who want all non-humans to leave the solar system, especially the Vulcans. You know, he's a racist essentially, but he is just a very charismatic figure, and he almost gets away with it. And what was really interesting was that he lives at the end. A lot of Star Trek villains don't live; they all die, and he's one who does. He gets caught and he's incarcerated for his crimes. It's a interesting idea. I almost picked Commander Dolim, Scott MacDonald, from the Xindi, but I think he is more of a sort of a boo-hiss traditional kind of villain, whereas I think John Paxton, there's a little bit more morally grey, layered aspects to his character.
I think that's interesting because you're the thing you've imposed upon yourself has made that so, because there's no one in Enterprise that pops to the top of the list. Everything you've said is right. Completely agree. But in terms of if you don't have that rule and you're not deliberately picking someone from Enterprise, there's no one that.
Like I said, if I hadn't imposed this rule, I think 5 of my top 7 would have been from Deep Space Nine.
Would have been DS9.
Just because it's my favourite show. So I didn't want to do that. I wanted to actually think about villains that, you know, come from, and how to do that was to I'll limit myself to 1 per series and see what that throws up in terms of like interesting characters, and John Paxton is definitely one of them.
It makes for a very different list. I don't know if it makes for a general best villains list. It makes for a Toby best villains list, and you know what? I like a Toby best villains list. I think it really works. Good stuff. Good choices.
I think it's crazy to pick too many from one show anyway. But so as I pick my 3rd villain from the Next Generation,
Cute.
my number 3 is Lore.
Oh, he was my number 8. I had to cut him out. Interesting.
There you go. I love Lore. Lore has a distinction for me. So Brent Spiner as Data's twisted evil brother, the mirror universe without the mirror universe, is in the first episode that I really loved of Next Gen, which was Data Lore. There were ones I liked, but I really liked Data Lore at the time. Now it's not as good as I remember it when on going back to watch it, but I just loved it, and it specifically, and obviously then they exploit this to the nth degree, but it showed what Brent Spiner was capable of, and that actually, and I think that was important because by seeing him play Lore, it shows you how good his Data was.
Mm-hmm.
I think Data improved and went up in people's affections because you knew it was a choice. Like, you can never be sure when someone's cast. Sometimes that actor is perfect in that character and then doesn't really have much else. Like, you know, Orlando Bloom as Legolas, great as Legolas, terrible in everything else. But the fact that Lore came in and showed that the Data choices Spiner made to be small, controlled, to be, you know, were genuine. They were choices, and that made the performance even better. But then he was, every time Lore turned up, it was a clap and scream, yay moment. And whether it was in Brothers, which is one of the best Next Gen
I love
episodes
Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, it's a fabulous episode.
I don't like the B
Three-hander.
plot. The B plot is really annoying. It's just get back to the A plot. Get back to the A plot.
3 characters seen episode, essentially the good part anyway, and the same actor playing all 3 parts is just great. And then even Descent, which is weak, mainly in comparison to the Best of Both Worlds and Borg.
Part 1 of Descent's good.
Yeah, it is, but it's not because Lore's in it that in part 2 that doesn't stand up. It's because in fact Lore is just a fabulous character, and it's a perfect showcase, and a really good example of an actor having to have their cake and eat it, and the fact that he gets to play both characters, and you never question it. And so much so that when you get to Picard and you have that obviously contrived struggle in the golem data between Lore and Data, and you can see it. And some of Spiner's finest work is when he's Lore pretending to be Data and he reveals that he's Lore. And that sort of lovely duplicitousness and again, and then even when Data grapples with his going back to the Borg Queen in First Contact, with almost turning to the dark side, it's still not Lore. He's got another version of Data in there, which is fabulous. So Lore is a boo hiss villain. Great showcase for one of the best actors Star Trek's ever had, and love Lore.
Yeah, he's when Lore turns up, you always know he's never going to be on the side of right. He's always.
And it's not going to be boring.
Yeah, exactly.
It's going to be fun.
Right.
Yeah, and gotta love that. It's proper panto villain, and yet still subtle. It's really good. Love Lore.
My number 3 is Q.
See, I don't count him as a baddie, but that's interesting.
He is a baddie.
I don't think so.
Or is he misunderstood? But that's the thing. That's what makes him so effective. He's not evil. He's worse. He does it for fun.
Yeah.
He knows. I mean, talk about, psychopathy, right? This guy knows exactly what he's doing, and he's just having a rollicking good time doing it, which is what makes him both.
He's the Loki of Star Trek,
fun.
Right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He
He's very
does not have
playful.
our neurology, so he can't be either. He's just beyond any sort of moral compass that we might operate under.
But honestly, just look across the franchise at some of the most important things that he's been in, right? I mean, he brought out some of the best moments in Picard, and Encounter at Farpoint, Q-Who, Deja Q, Tapestry, Death Wish, and several of the major episodes of Picard. I thought for the most part Picard used John Delancey really well. What I like about him is that he finds himself so funny.
Yeah.
That's a lot of John's performance that works so well, is he found that, yes, he's a bad guy, but he's also just a playful kid who's getting away with shit.
Oh, very good, Mr. Worf. Eat any good books lately?
Right. He's funny with a line, but it's very pointed as well, and usually correct, which is the other fun thing. And then you get one of the most important lines in all of Star Trek, the trial never ends, which is hugely important for the franchise. And, the way he pokes a hole in the Picard balloon of pomposity.
Pickard.
Right? What's the line? Sometimes I think the only reason I come here is to listen to these wonderful speeches of yours is just funny
Mon
stuff.
Capitan.
El Capitan. Right, all of that. And he just plays it so well. And there's also a natural chemistry between him and Patrick Stewart in many of their scenes together. I think those are the best scenes for Q, or when he's with Patrick Stewart, realistically speaking. He's had some other good stuff with some of the other actors. I mean, I liked his scenes with Janeway. I think he brings out the best in the commanders, the captains as well. Although, I mean, I even loved that he got punched by, Cisco on Deep Space. Was great. The episode didn't work. It was not a great use of Q by any means whatsoever. But if you think about important Q moments, if we did an episode of, let's do Q moments, getting punched by Cisco would be on my list in the top 7. Just because it was A, so funny, B, so deserved, and C, just so out of the norm for what Star Trek does. Nobody gets to Q. And Cisco did, and that really helped establish how tough everybody believes Cisco to be. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah. And the guy was on Next Gen, he was on Deep Space, he was on Voyager, he was on Picard, and I thought they used him more as a spice.
He must have been on Lower Decks. I can't remember. He must have been, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I imagine. Yeah, I can't remember. But
And and he brought it every time, Delancey. And to me, he is a villain, Rich. I would argue that there's no question that he's a villain. I know we like to joke that he's a pest or that kind of flea on the dog, but he's a villain, and he changes the characters that he interacts with.
But maybe for the better.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe he changes. That's one of the beauties of time, right?
Yeah.
Put it this way: if we ended on his last scene in Next Generation, that's a different Q than the last scene we get of him in Picard.
Yeah.
Very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Cool.
It's interesting that Picard as a series has been mentioned because Picard is in my third spot with Captain Vadet.
I knew you were going to say that.
Played by Amanda Plummer. Just another great actor. I had been on record saying I like Picard without loving it, but I do think that she, as a character, is a highlight. She's a diminutive figure, but she's also got this Napoleon complex about her, which is I just love the look with the slick back hair and the visible scars and the smoking of the cigarillos or whatever they are, some kind of cigar. The moment you see her, you know she's the villain. So from that point of view, I mean, that's the heavy-handedness of New Trek. But she does have a really great intro where she throws a starship at the USS Titan. She does feel like a threat. But out of all of it, the scene that I love the most is when she's got the lineup of the crew on board the bridge and she's going to execute one of the characters. And she's just nasty in that moment. She's just vindictive. So when she executes Lieutenant Tavine, it is actually genuinely a shock, I think, that she actually goes through with it. Because I think initially she's just this one-dimensional kind of character. But when you learn that she was a changeling and the things that she goes through, I think it adds a depth to that character. So she grows throughout the season until she's killed off way too early, I think. She does fall into that villain trope that we all agree has been overused, that someone with a grudge against the Federation. But here, it feels justified to me. And the Dominion War and the after effects of that. This is one where I kind of let it go. But that's my third spot.
Cool. Good choice. My only issue with that character was the character was too obvious. I loved Plummer chewing the scenery. I just found the character completely, utterly obvious.
But I compare it with Noose Bracker, right? In terms of those two characters, whereas Noose is just really over the top. I think she does chew the scenery. I agree with you. Like I said, she's the villain straight from the off. She smokes. She must be a villain. But in terms of comparing them,
no, I get that. The difference was Noose Bracker. My issue was, and we've discussed this. I liked him as a villain, and he had his reasons and all of that. But yes, it was I hate the Federation. But my bigger issue was the writing of that character, where come on down. I've said this in one of our other pods, but we're making Price is Right references this deep in the future, and we had our whole conversation about the show being on for its 1,000th season and all of that. That takes away from the character for me. And whereas I do like her better, because really we didn't get that. She was the villain of the piece, and she stayed the villain of the piece.
Well, interestingly, now you said that, I think I prefer Noose.
I do not.
Really? I don't at all.
Yeah, because when I think of Picard season 3, I don't really think about her. I think about everything post her.
I think she's the highlight. I wish they stuck with her and not introduced the Borg stuff. But
no, I think of the Borg stuff really, and everything that follows more. But that's probably because I really love that last run of episodes, Picard season 3. And I'm not saying that, I'm not going to claim that Noose Bracker is written better. He's not, but Giamatti I preferred. If you're going to be big, be big.
Yeah. No, you're allowed to be wrong, Rich, at least once an episode.
Well, we've established
take us up on that.
We have an existing trope.
That's our own trope.
So my number 2 is a one that's simply one of the best villains in anything, let alone Star Trek, and can be big, can be hammy, but can also be incredibly small and intense and just wonderfully duplicitous and layered.
All right, you got us. Who is it?
It's Golda Cat.
Oh, you went Golda Cat. Okay,
yeah,
so that's Kai Wynn is your number 1 then. Yeah, there we go.
I couldn't possibly say.
100% is. It was going to be one of the two.
So Golda Cat is my number 2. Mark Alamo, who is just great. We know that DS9 is spoiled for choice, and I could easily put Damar on this list, but because Damar ultimately is a good guy, and you're actually sad with his fate in the Dominion arc. Oh, Golda Cat gets everything that's fucking coming to him by the time he is possessed by the Par Wraith and thrown into the Bajoran hell pits, whatever it is. I can't remember the exact term for where they are. Fire caves. Everything about him is just beautifully written and done, and Alamo is just great in the role, and it relishes so much of what he gets to do, and the writing and the dialogue and the arc, it just beautifully drawn, and some of the stuff, the interplays, like there's nothing sweeter than that moment in where they break through the Federation break through the lines, and he's in the Dominion, and he's the look on his face and the surprise because he was so conceited he assumed it would never happen. It's just great. Or even better, I love that episode where they activate the security system on the station, and that recorded message of Gul Dukat telling the Bajoran, the revolting Bajorans, that he's going to kill them all. Now it's time they've got. And then he turns up, and then he can't deactivate it, and it's just brilliant. He manages an incredible trick of being funny, empathetic, likable, villainous, and hateable, often in one scene, in one line read. It is incredibly good work by him, and just incredibly well written, and is one of the reasons that DS9 is as brilliant as it is. And again, not regular, a recurring.
He's my number one. I'll just put it out there. Deep Space Nine was always going to be my number one. I thought about Vedic or Kai Wynn and Weyoun and numerous other characters from Deep Space Nine, but Dukat was, I think as soon as the topic came up, Dukat was like, well, he's going to be my number one for sure. He's just a layered and really brilliantly well-developed character. I mean, he's given the time to develop, but, you know, you sympathize with him at certain points.
Yeah.
And you can understand where he comes from, particularly if you take the view that he is the hero of his own story, that he believes what he is doing is the right thing to do.
Righteous. Yeah.
It's just a really compelling character. I wasn't fussed by the Par-Wraith storyline, not really, but banishing him to hell, that seems kind of fitting. I can't really argue with that.
You say about feeling sorry for him. How good is it that you feel sorry for him when Kai Wynn rejects him?
Well, not just that, when his daughter is killed.
Oh, yeah,
he's genuinely broken by that moment.
No, but that's something that I think anyone can identify with. But the thing with Kai, that's just, their relationship is just fucked up on so many levels anyway. And yet you still feel bad when she rejects him. And it's just like, oh, God, that Elena just knocks that out of the park, because you should just like, But now you're like, how could I feel like that? Brilliant work.
You always think you know what he's going to do, but he does still surprise you. Like when he turns or betrays. He betrays when you think he's going to support, and then he supports when you think he's going to betray. It's just, it's great. And obviously, Alemo is fantastic. It's that role, you know, he nails it all the way through.
Yeah.
Agreed. He's my number 2 as well, which tells you what my number 1 is. To your point, Tobe, I literally have my note here. He truly believes he's the hero of the story. And he does. It's exactly what you just said. And that makes him even scarier and more dangerous and more duplicitous, because you don't know what he's going to do. He is unpredictable. And he's not unpredictable story-wise for the sake of being unpredictable.
That is crucial.
I think that's part of his personality. And I think that's what, you know, and then he's just great in episode after episode after episode as well, right down to the very end, right, to Far Beyond the Stars. What's interesting to me is, of a lot of the characters on the show, he's the one that's very Trump-esque in many ways, in that he believes his ego is oversized.
Bajoran people should thank me for what I've done for them.
Talk about, he wants statues built of himself. He very, very easily and with no compassion, I guess would be the word. I mean, he's very easy and quick to justify his actions. I mean, you've got people dying, you've mass suffering going on, occupation going on. No care, no apology whatsoever, which is interesting. And my line that I love for him is, a true victory is to make your enemies see they were wrong to oppose you in the first place. That's the ultimate manipulation in a war, right? Is to get the people out there to think, oh, what's this, right? Maybe he's doing this for a reason. It's really interesting. And another great line is, and yet, despite everything, I'm still Dukat, which was great. And yes, we do get his breakdown. What was that? Waltz. The relationship between him and Sisko is really interesting. Everything with Kira.
Kira's mother.
On top of all of that, there are moments where he's really laugh out loud funny. I also just want to mention the chemistry between him and my number 1.
Oh, who could be your number 1?
Those two together in their scenes, it's just two heavyweight boxers, right?
Yeah.
I love their scenes together. This stuff with him and Kai Wynn is just great. And the way that he and Fletcher bring out the best of each other as actors is just incredible stuff to watch.
My number 2, I think I'm on record as saying the Kardashians are my favourite alien species. So it was going to be no one else other than Gul Madred by David Warner from The Next Generation. I mean, the second on my list, as soon as I thought of it, I just had to, include him.
Well, let me stop you there for 1 second. I have number 2, Gul Dukat, 1 Gul, so no Madred. I just decided, let me get other ones in there. My list is right down the lane, more or less, with no big surprises like you did, Tobe. But I decided not to have 2 Guls be back to back to back.
Dukat's number 1 because he gets a whole series to make an impact. David Warner does it in 1 episode.
Yes.
He's just brilliant. He's captivating. You absolutely hate him. Like, he disgusts you as a character for the very reasons that Rich was talking about, like the absence of empathy or humanity, for want of a better word.
Kardashianity.
He's just his just casual attitude to everything. It's not only horrific, it's horrifying, and that's what makes him so disturbing.
He's chilling, dead-eyed. Oof.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, the dialogue, the duologue between him and Patrick Stewart, those two playing off each other, that's one of the reasons why this performance stands out, because they work so well together. And because your empathy and your sympathy is on Picard's side throughout, it just makes you hate Madred even more that he's doing this to one of your favourite characters. So yeah, that's my number 2. I'm very interested about this because Gul Dukat would have been my number 1. Kai Wynn or Vedic Wynn would have been my number 2. So I'm very interested. I've actually written notes about Wynn as a character because when I first did my list, I wrote 1 and 2. And then I was like, oh, this is all going to be DS9.
So you want to know why we would pick Wynn above?
I'm just very, I'm just interested why I went with the cat over Wynn and why both of you have gone the other way around.
Okay, well, I'll lead
I will just say, I think Kai Wynn is Star Trek's most insidious villain.
Well, there you are.
But not my favourite.
So Wynn Adami, to give her a full name, is my number 1. And the reason is...
Played by?
Oh, Louise Fletcher. Nurse Ratched herself.
Oscar winner.
For One Through the Cuckoo's Nest, who arguably even more chilling in that. But a brilliantly cast actor for this role. So the difference is, Gul Dukat is good and enjoyable from the beginning, but improves and deepens and deepens and deepens. Now, obviously, Wynn does get development, but you hate her from the second you see her. And she doesn't do anything, really, initially. She just exudes. Oh, you just want to, oh, God. She's unsettling. She's upsetting. She's a kind of villain we all know somewhere in our lives. That self-righteous, manipulative, coercive, just judgmental and like the as good as Gul Dukat is, he's very Star Trek in a traditional sense in some ways, which is I know he's got layers, but he is essentially an alien commander, right? So he fits. Whereas Kai Wynn could exist anywhere, in anything. And the episode I would bring to mind is the school episode where she starts, lobbies to get the local Bajorans to want to shut down Keiko's school because she will not teach the prophets of the prophets, the wormhole aliens. She won't teach the dogma, she'll teach the science. And that means that Wynn and where she sits and what she does sits as the ultimate Roddenberry villain, because she not only preaches, literally, religion above all, she does it to advance herself, her way, the way of her prophets, not the prophets, her prophets, or death, essentially. And I can't think of any character, any villain that's more epitomes the direct antagonist to Roddenberry's IDIC utopian humanist vision. And that's why. So she is profoundly awful a sort of existential level for me, philosophically, ideologically, as a person. And I hate watching her, and I love watching her, and I hate the fact that I love watching her because I really hate her as a character. Every time I watch an episode, although I want to dig out Louise Fletcher interviews just to be reassured that she's probably very nice, but just so I know that it's all performance, because she's so convincing in that role. And yeah, so she.
I'm sure she would be very nice to your face.
Oh yeah, I know, but that's the thing. That's what you would worry about, with some snide, passive-aggressive sign-off that make you go, "What?" And for all the reasons that Ian just invoked as well, rightly, about the relationship with Dukat and everything represented, she is, for me, the most fundamentally evil character in Star Trek, and is married with a performance that just is perfect in that, invoking that hatred, and as such is key to DS9's final arc. As much as I don't like the power race stuff, you really want Wynn to get her comeuppance. It's just a shame it isn't Kira that gets to dish it to her.
Yeah. Obviously she's my number one. She's my number one for a whole bunch of reasons. Why number one over Dukat? Their chasing of power is different. She wants to almost be above it all, like a god, or for the gods. He's on the ground power seeking. And to me, there's a world of difference. And the one who's professing to almost be a god or represent the gods is scarier to me than the one who's on the ground doing that kind of thing. And again, this ties back into the whole Trump versus Jim Jones type of situation. She's got a higher calling in her mind. Her self-righteousness is close to godliness.
That commitment to righteousness makes her more insidious and more dangerous.
Exactly. Anyway, I thought Kai Wynn, she wasn't loud. She really wasn't physically threatening, whereas Dukat always looked terrifying. You had Kai Wynn in these gorgeous outfits that they filmed her in, and that made her even more exotic. But a lot of the words that we're using for Dukat work with him, work with her. Self-righteous, jealous, power-hungry. Her ability to make every word out of her mouth sound condescending.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Was the best part. And I thought Louise Fletcher, nobody was better at doing that. And I was a big fan of Louise Fletcher. You can almost see elements of Nurse Ratched in this character. Here. Not that she was repeating herself, but just that ability to make you think here's this average person with this extraordinary hold on people just because of the way she can deliver her anger at you, confrontationally, low-key. She doesn't yell a lot. And it's all this, she's great, she's the queen of the side-eye. And the key thing with her that I also find just more interesting is controlling people is one thing, which is what Dukat does very well. But and religion is a bigger issue to me than power, even though they're very much combined, right? So she is weaponizing faith. And then you have some fun with her in the sense that she does play the victim, but that's not played for laughs, right? It's dead serious. And, she is... I love her scenes with Kira. I thought the two actresses were fabulous together, Louise Fletcher.
The way
and then
she says child.
Child, my child.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Condescension hidden under
You
pleasantry.
knew, and I'd love to know, there should be a drinking game about how many times she says my child, because you'd be pretty drunk, I think. Or maybe we just think she said it more than she maybe
it's
did.
So strong, yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a great line, and she is wonderful at, again, I use this phrase like poking the balloon of Kira. She knows exactly what buttons to push, and she pushes them. And I thought her fate, I don't know if the special effects did any favors for the character of the fate. I didn't quite think all of that worked at the end. And then just masterclass with her and Mark Alaimo.
The one extra note that I had when I was writing about her was that Dukat, you expect him to be a baddie because he's a Kardashian. Wynn, you don't, because she's a Bajoran. And your expectation is the Bajorans are, the victims, as Ian mentioned. And so you think your sympathies are going to be with her as a character. But
though, Toby, to your point about the second you saw a character you knew that they were the villain, right? I always felt that. I remember the first time I saw Kai Wynn.
No doubt.
I was like,
Absolutely.
yeah, this can't be good.
But what I mean is,
So-
your expectation is that the Bajorans are going to be, at least on the heroic side of things, right? Because
Right, but then you see her and you know that's not the case.
And that's why she's a signal of the complexity of DS9. And the same way that's mirrored by Damar being a good guy by the end. That's the beauty of the show. And that's the reason that DS9 could easily fill our list if we really wanted it to.
And for me, my choice for DS9 would be the cat. I just love him as a character.
Well, those are our choices of the people on Star Trek we like to boo and hiss on the TV screen, on the small screen. But what about you? Let us know in your thoughts on which villains, who did we miss, who did we get wrong? Is there anyone you think from the other series that should rank above Wynn or Dukat in the rankings? The details to contact us, our email and social media are all included in the description. And other than that, we'll see you next time, Beyond the Final Frontier.
Peace, love, and logic, everybody.
Ta-ra, bit.
Thanks for listening to Beyond the Final Frontier, a Star Trek podcast with Rich Matthews, Ian Spelling and Toby Weidman. If you want to get in contact with us, you can email us on beyondffpod@gmail.com or check us out on social media. You can even join our Patreon at BFF Beyond the Final Frontier. Huge thanks go out to Alex Weidman for the brilliant original music. Please search Alex Weidman Composer on YouTube to hear the full fantastic theme and more. Also thanks goes to award-winning voiceover artist Cissy Jones for our excellent opening monologue. Find out more about her incredible work at cissyjones.com. And of course, last but not least, our brilliant artwork comes from the designer Russell Seal. Discover more of his work on behance.net/Russell Seal. Thanks again and see you next episode, Beyond the Final Frontier.